welcome to Kim Talks Resilience, where we share stories of insight and inspiration in life, love, and business with resilient women from around the world. Speaking with authors, entrepreneurs, founders, and coaches to learn their strategies for a more resilient life so we can all build the life we love. I'm your host, Kim Hayden. Hello and welcome back. Super excited that you guys have yet again chosen to share your time with us here at Kim Talks. Because I know that time is our most valuable resource, especially because I just recently had, yes, my 55th birthday. Shared it having some fun with my grandkids and got me really thinking, what is the legacy memories we're leaving and how are we connecting outwards? And got me thinking, how do we next generation, how are we serving, how are we helping, right? Those of you who know a little bit about my backstory know that I was not a very good student. I've never been the person who colors inside the lines, and I think part of that was they never gave me any practical applications. Here, learn biology, learn history, and there wasn't a lot of, in the old school, everything was very rote. And I love the gamification around education. I've came across this about 2 years ago from a gal who teaches a coaching course, and Marissa Murgatroyd, who is just what I think one of the best course creator coaches out there. And she talks about the gamification and how people have a higher response if we're pressing that dopamine button. And so this caught me. This our next guest caught my attention because Juliette Denny, for over 20 years, has pioneered gamification in corporate learning. Now, it's really important to think about this because corporations, just like entrepreneurs, just like every human being on this earth, we are all having to evolve so fast. So our rate of learning is accelerating. And to get it entertaining and engaging and applicable, we have to think about it differently. So the gamification in corporate learning, she makes it fun and engaging. Juliet's passion for igniting curiosity stems from overcoming her own academic struggles. I think we could have been buddies in school, even getting kicked out of 2 schools. Now, that led to her on a journey to her Harvard postgraduate degree and growth engineering, a company she built from scratch and founded. As of recently, she has launched a new AI learning company called Iridescent Technology, and I'm dying to dive into that one. Juliette has revolutionized learning for giants like L'Oreal, Apple, Cisco, and focusing on learning engagement. Now, on her even bolder mission, transforming linear learning into a personalized conversation. Super excited because as a diagnosed ADHD and all of the other crazy artistic background, I love that individualized learning strategies. So welcome to the show, Juliette.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you very much for the invite to come on. I very much appreciate it.
Well, it's the pink glasses. You're a gal who loves pink, so you're a gal after my own heart. These are my birthday gift from my husband, rose
Beautiful.
gold stones. Yeah, I don't think I could get much flashier than that. Maybe have my daughter bedazzled a little, but yeah. So tell us a little bit. First of all, you don't sound like you're from Kansas, so tell us a little bit of who is Juliette.
Well, I'm a bit of a globetrotter, to be honest with you. So I was actually born in Tokyo. Then we moved to Singapore, Malaysia. Then we moved back to the UK for a short time. And then I went to Bolivia for a while and met my then husband-to-be, went to Argentina. Then we ended up doing our postgrads in Harvard in the US. And now I live in Andorra in the mountains, or between, I should say. I'm currently in Andorra up in the mountains, but I also have a home in South Spain. But very much I think a traveler by nature, I think I would say. So yeah, that's where I am now.
I would love to be like part of your luggage, like just go with you everywhere. Uh, Are you finding that the kind of the new over the last, what, 5 years, there's what, 54 countries in the EU that now have nomad visas for foreign workers? Just if you can prove that you make 2,000, 3,000, $5,000 a month, you can get a visa to live in the country. Are you finding that's helping you?
Yeah, I mean, the nomad visas don't necessarily help me because I'm a resident now in Andorra. But
Oh,
I think nomad visas are absolutely brilliant because they provide opportunities to see the world as well as work. And, so many of us now work online. It doesn't matter where we are. It's so funny, actually, my new company, Iridescent Technology, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point. The team is based in Andorra, Spain, Tokyo, Mexico City, Bangladesh. That is the team. And sorry, France. So
yeah,
we're all online the whole time, all on kind of WhatsApp and Discord and different kind of platforms. And there's no sort of, right, it's 5 o'clock, there's no conversation. The conversation is constant. Everyone is just
yeah.
constantly having a conversation. Now, that doesn't mean to say we're working 24/7. That just means the discussion and the dialogue is happening all the time. And it's absolutely fascinating. So yeah, I'm all for traveling the world because I do think it makes you a lot more appreciative of how other people live and different cultures and all of those kind of good things.
I believe it brings a better quality of work and offering when you understand the nuances within different cultures. Like even just this morning, we have iVox as a directory, and I'm like going, I've never heard of iVox. Well, iVox is very strong in Latin America, in Brazil, in those areas, and it's a big one. And it's like, oh, and then it led me to the fact that I've had several people on the show that are from Latin America. So then they exposed, so then I learned from them, and I'm learning new tools. And the only reason I knew where that was is I was working with a team out of Brazil. Oh yeah, no, that's here. So it's I think it opens up opportunity to, I think we can get very insular when we stay, especially in North America, in
Mm.
the United States and in Canada. Canada is very closely connected with the United States. We can get very insular and not realize that there's an entire world out there.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, and you lived in the United States going to
Yes. Yeah.
grad
We lived
school.
in
So
lived
you
in
experienced Americans firsthand.
Yeah, I mean, we lived in Harvard Square, but obviously it was very, we were doing our postgrad, so it was very international. I mean, it was a fantastic experience. I absolutely loved every second of it. And for work, so Growth Engineering has offices in New York, London, and Chennai in India. And so, traveling in the US was a big part of my job when I was, leading Growth Engineering. I used to travel a lot, across, the US, but also into Canada, Australia. I mean, I must have spent probably about 10 days a month on a plane, not on a plane, but, moving from one country to another. And then, of course, COVID came along, and now everybody is very comfortable with doing everything, online, which is great. Just means you don't get to see so many countries, but yeah, it's great.
Yeah, well, you can get a Starlink and work from any country. So that's the January. All the Kim Talks will be coming from somewhere in Mexico. I'm not sitting here in the snow drifts. So I do. Let's dive in. What's got you excited right now? Iridescent learning or iridescent technologies, and how that is creating customized learning for people, right? I want to know a bit more on that because this has got an AI foundation to it. So
Yeah, so this
walk
is
me
a
through what this
pure
is.
Yeah, this is a pure play AI move in the learning space. So I've obviously been battling dull online learning for the last sort of 21 years at Growth Engineering, and we've had some success in terms of helping companies get more engagement for their learning programs for learners. So we've kind of moved the dial, and we've got people kind of questioning the whole idea of how do you make learning programs more engaging. But with the arrival of AI, we can do something fundamentally revolutionary, in my view, with education. So the process that we are developing and basically coding up in Claude 3 from Anthropic is it's a mixture of AI co-pilots and AI chatbots, okay, all blended together in a kind of seamless experience for the learner. And it starts off with discovery. So it starts off by trying to understand what your career aspirations are. So where do you want to go? What do you know, if you could design your life, what would it look like? So you have a conversation, you know, with the AI, or we're calling it COAS. So you have a conversation with COAS, and through this conversation, COAS comes to understand you and your career aspirations and what your ideal life looks like, where you are now, where you want to get to, and also your learning style. So we believe that the focus of any really good learning is conversation. So rather than a kind of moment in time, one size fits all, it's a daily conversation. So the first phase is COAS really understanding you, specifically you, your dreams, your aspirations, your perfectly designed life. We then go on to, okay, so you've told me that you want to get from here to here. So this is what this looks like. It looks like, let's say, 6 months worth of training, learning and development. It looks like 2 years worth of learning and development. It looks like, 7 days worth of learning development. How does that sound to you? So these are the things that we're recommending that you learn. This is what the syllabus looks like. This is, how we're going to move you from where you are now in your knowledge to, the future state. And then it's up to you to say, this is relevant, this isn't relevant, I like this, I don't like this, I'd like to prioritize this, I'd like to, et cetera, et cetera. And then you diarize. So one of the very important things is that learning shouldn't be something that's done to you. It should be something that you want to do for yourself. You're prioritizing your career, your future ambitions. And so basically it will then sync with your diary. And then you're off to the races. Okay, so that's the second stage. And then the third stage is delivery. So COAS will basically, talk to you on a daily basis or every 3 days, however often you've said that you want your learning to come. And the learning can have different learning assets attached to it. So it can be videos, it can be talking head avatar, it can be, e-learning, it can be, any number of different things. But the critical difference is that COAS is going to ask you questions before and after to ensure that you are actually learning something, as you progress. So then what's going to happen is you're going to move through this learning. It's a very, very individualized learning process. And then the final stage is demonstration. So we know from Bloom's hierarchy and other kind of learning theories that it's only rewarding when it is applied. So what we need to do is get the learner to not only understand the concepts, understand and welcome that new knowledge into their brain, we also need them to demonstrate that knowledge. So those are the kind of four steps of COAS. And hopefully it should be a guide and a companion for the entire of your career, because obviously people have aspirations, they want to get better as they move forward, and it should be a constant reminder that the biggest investment you can ever make is in yourself. You are the most important person in your life, so prioritize yourself and design a life so that you can be the best version of yourself. That's what we're saying with COAS, that you need to prioritize yourself. Why? Because you're the most important person in the world.
Yeah. You're the only person that can do it for you. That's
Totally.
I mean, when nobody else is going to save you, nobody else is going to build what you dream of. It's going to be you. Who's the ideal student?
Well, to be honest with you, anyone. What we're saying is that, curiosity, we're born with curiosity, okay? But then we go to school and, we do online learning, and basically our curiosity is killed with a giant sledgehammer. It is, learning by rote, it is boring, and our inner child that is, fairies and sprinkles when we're young and is desperate to find out how you make a fire and desperate to build a fort and etc., then suddenly you go to school and it's like, oh, You know, why am I learning this? What am I learning it for? Where's it going to get me? So what we're all about is saying, look, in order for you to be the best version of yourself, you need to grow. You need to grow, and you need to cultivate wisdom, and you need to cultivate, curiosity. And so that's really, you're never ever too old to learn a new skill, and it doesn't matter what your passion is. Hopefully COAS will get that out of you. So you don't have to, let's say you've been in sales the whole of your life. You don't have to go on to be a sales director. You could pivot. You could go into marketing. You could go into product development. You could go into whatever. COAS is just going to give you the training and the insight and the practical application so that you can be confident when you go into an interview to say, look, I haven't been in product development before, but I know how, I know how to do it. And here's an example of me in action,
I love the fact that I'm a huge advocate of AI, and that's because as a mother to somebody who's dyslexic, it has changed the playing field. Like the learning tools, the adaptability of communications, everything has literally leveled up, because nothing's worse than, your 12-year-old. Nothing stymies that want or drive to learn or move forward or to accomplish something new than being battered down, that you thought you were smarter or could do more, but you constantly are failing based on what traditional methods are. And we saw this with my daughter with the incorporation of, in her high school years, with special tools for scripting and things like that. She would get like a 50% on an exam if she had to sit and read it and write it herself, and she'd get like a 92 on the same content if it was scribed and drafted for her. So these types of tools are critical to help us elevate to our best potential. Um,
Yeah.
what do you think some future applications for this? Right now, it's focused on career trajectory. However, it sounds like it's a study buddy, an accountability buddy. It sounds like it's
Well, I
it's
think the
almost like
wonderful
a
thing
tour
about
guide.
Yeah, the wonderful thing about AI is it can be anything you want it to do. So, basically these large language models allow the AI to, present information and deliver information in a way that is right for you. You just need to engineer it through prompt engineering in the right way in order to have the experience with the AI you want. But, it's interesting you talked about dyslexia, because I'm dyslexic, and, a
There
lot
you
of
go.
dyslexics are very intelligent. They have
You have
high
to be.
IQs, but they are unable to express themselves. And one of the things I really love about what we're trying to do with, COAS is this idea that, every learner is individual. And, your learning and your learning adventure should be as an individual as you. So for me, I learn best through conversations. I absolutely learn best. Do not give me anything that is longer than about 2 minutes, because by that time, I want to be looking at something new, learning something new, and then applying. That's what I want to be doing. I want to be discussing. I want to be debating. I want to be at the higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy. I understand that I've got to receive the knowledge in order to start debating, discussing, and getting to the high levels of Bloom's taxonomy. But that's the fun bit. That's the fun bit. What is not fun is sitting in a classroom the same as everybody else and basically trying to listen to a teacher or do something for a sustained amount of time when I am not engaged, when I am not, playing with that knowledge. I'm not describing how I would use it. I'm not demonstrating, what impact that's had. I'm not, I'm not able to talk and discuss the new ideas. And so I think that was really kind of the inspiration for COAS, which is learning has to be more than just knowledge, receiving knowledge. It needs to be playing in the sandbox of knowledge, not just, passively receiving it. And so that's really the mission here, to make, people curious. That's the mission. How can we take, everybody knows, an ideal design for their life. I'd like to this, I'd like to that. But what we want to do is we want to take that potential, that idea, that gem, and gently nurture them along this journey in a really personalized way, which reflects them. They can even have themselves teaching themselves. So because we're going to be using multiple different types of AI, they can mimic your accent, they can mimic your look and feel, they can mimic whatever it is, so that you are actually your own personal coach. So these are some of the things that we're trying to do. So you can imagine if you're long-term unemployed, this is one of the issues, getting the confidence to get your whatever maths GCSE or start an apprenticeship in mechanical engineering or whatever it might be. You just might not be surrounded by the right mentors, by the right coaches, by the right teachers in order to inspire you to want to get on that journey. However, if you've got somebody in your pocket that looks like you, sounds like you, feels like you, can resonate with you, you're more likely to be able to have the tenacity and the resilience to keep on that learning journey so that you can be the best version of yourself.
And sometimes our peer, our families, friends, people around us, and they don't mean to be like this, but this is a natural tendency. If you are close to somebody, you see all of their trials and tribulations, you see their journey, and time moves so fast. And people go, well, didn't you just do this? It's like, no, I did that like 6 years ago and I'm ready to move on. And all the studies are now indicating that we will have 12 careers. It's not 12 jobs. We're talking 12 careers. These are careers are based around interest within a lifetime. And that, I believe, is only going to go up as we increase longevity, right? The average time in a job now is 2.8 years for somebody who's under 40. That's like, so we're talking about every 36 months, you're shifting and changing. And when your parent or best friend goes, but didn't you just spend, right? Or, well, but you're so good at this, right? And it's not that they're trying to hold us back or stop us from doing something new or something that we want to pursue. As they're trying to protect us. They think that they're protecting us. They want to point out what we've done, not what we can do. And that's where I think that having this partner, this AI partner, can be a benefit, because sometimes you have to build your own cheerleading squad, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think also the other things, one of the things that you said there is this idea of, you know, pivoting in your career should be based on your interests. So rather than just kind of following the career train up, people
Yeah.
will eventually fall out of love with, a kind of vertical career path. They will fall out of love with it and they
Yep.
will start questioning, have they got a purpose in their life? But if they are able to continually build those skills, not only can they add more creativity to, let's say, a traditional career path, but they can also pivot should they want to. The most important thing, and going back to the way you introduced the podcast, which I thought was wonderful, is time is so precious and life is so precious. We should be living our best lives at all times and not feeling that our career doesn't match either our aspirations or our ability to forge a certain sort of path through life. We should have those choices, and choices comes with knowledge. Knowledge is power. And I think one of the key things is, if we have the ability to add more knowledge into our brains, we then have the ability to jump into other careers that we hitherto didn't have. But yes, I think it's fascinating, the world of work and how that is changing and what that means for our careers and, our ability to have that continual learning discipline. Again, going back to, Successful Habits, what you were talking about being one of your favorite books. Learning should be a habit. It should be just, baked in.
Yeah.
And this is what we're trying to do with COOS. Make it so frictionless, make it so personalized, make it so relevant to you and what you want to do, that it opens up the doors to curiosity and your best life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A couple things, like I love how you said, if it takes more than a few minutes to read it. All right.
Yeah.
Fractional reading. So back in 1950, when our original mindset around what a career was, this is what the boomers, Gen X, you know, our perception of a career came from the 1950s model where you went and got a job and you worked that job for 25 to 30 years and you got a pension and then you retired and you died by 78. Okay. Now we're projecting longevity for our millennials at 120, right? Our alpha generation, they are with the new biotech and such, is being projected. It could be upwards of 150, 160. So that whole retirement, that whole thought process is an archaic thought process. Yet it influences how we respond to people when they say that they want to work on something new. And I think that's so ingrained within society that we're going to have to flush this out with this constant talk around. It's okay to pivot.
Yeah,
In fact,
exactly.
you should. You
Yeah,
should.
absolutely. I think the other thing that's interesting, just building on what you said, is this idea that not only will we be working for longer and have multiple careers within our lives, but we won't all be doing that together. So, me at sort of, 52, I'm not going to look around and see, a load of other 52-year-olds on a similar sort of career trajectory and a similar path. What's going to happen is that, you might come out of, university and decide, right, I'm going to take 4 years off to travel and write books. Which is you wouldn't have done before. People would have said, no. When you come out of university, you should be getting on the career ladder. Likewise, if you hit 65, people are like, oh, you should be retiring. Well, not really. Now I'm going to go and travel, or now I'm going to, write a book, or now I'm going to change careers and I'm going to become a life coach, or whatever it might be. So I think there are so many elements that are changing. Not only the fact that we can have multiple careers, but when we choose to have those multiple careers in terms of the successfulness or the hierarchy that we might move through in those careers is also changing. So a fascinating time.
It is next to the horse and buggy and the evolution of television. I mean, the reality is this is the next 200 years of human population is being evolved right now. Let's talk about that mindset, and I'd like to get your insight because you're Gen Xer like me, so it is interesting when you get a couple of Gen Xers on a conversation. Like if I step outside my front door in my neighborhood, a conversation with a general Gen Xer is very different than when I'm speaking to thought leaders like yourself. Right. So it's very easy to get mired down in, oh, you don't have your villa on the golf course and your retirement pension. It's like, no, I'm building a new company. I'm not done yet. Right. I'm not done yet. What was that? Do you remember George Burns, the old comedian? And he did stand-up comedy till he was like 100. When he was around 75, he started saying, I can't die yet because I'm booked next week.
That's
If you're
fantastic. Yeah.
if you're booked next week, right? If we take a look at Betty White, people who had very prolific careers against all odds, right? We look at people who have been exceptional within their space. They never stop. You never stop learning.
Yeah, I mean, I also think that of Rupert Murdoch. I mean, the dude is like, what? He's close to 100 now, and he's only just stepped down for an active position in the company. And I'm quite sure
Yeah.
that if you are needed and wanted on a daily basis by, loads of different people for your mind, or Charlie Munger, for example, or, these people are incredible. They just go on and on and on. And they go on because they're interested in what they do. They're interested. They're like, oh,
Buffett is still a major authority, and he remembers buying one of his first companies back like in the, I think, the 30s or 40s. Like, dude is old, right?
yeah, yeah.
And this is coming from, somebody who's 55, who my 25-year-old kids would say I'm old. But I love the people I really admire are the ones that just keep doing it. But I want to actually flip this conversation back to our let's say 18 to 25-year-olds. So COVID created this real gap. There is a generation, I watched two of my kids kind of flounder through this. See, they didn't have, they didn't go into any kind of post-secondary because it was all online learning that was rote online learning by traditional methods,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So they both have taken a very different a trajectory. One's going back to school next year at 23, but the other one's doing something totally different, going in to be a pilot, which, by the way, trades and those types of things, folks, take a look at those because AI hasn't taken those over yet. But, being an individual thinker, how can iridescent technologies and this new approach to customized learning and having a pocket buddy that can help you um, navigate learning, because navigation, I think, is the biggest challenge for a lot of people because you have to know the right questions to ask.
Mm.
AI is about asking the right questions or having the persistence to say that's not quite right, so rewording or re-engaging or redirecting.
Yeah, I
What do
mean,
you Let's talk about these young people and the
yeah, I mean,
challenges they're facing.
one of the things that I think is really important with, AI and, what it can do is that we need to make it a bit more proactive because you're very right. People don't know their true potential, and it's only by talking to people that you can uncover just how awesome they are. And so one of the things that we want to do with COOS is ensure that with the prompt engineering, we are giving them confidence to open up and reveal, their interests, and so that we can curate something which is, specifically for them. The other thing that, I think with that generation, my kids are that generation as well. They are very eager to learn new things, in a way that is a lot more, I think, bite size, and it needs to be available on demand, and it needs to be in a way that, there's an immediacy, I think, with them in terms of getting the right information, and packaged in the right way. But in terms of overall career development, they still need to feel like they're actually achieving. So going back to, the first company it's still, knocking socks off, growth engineering. As you say, we were very focused on gamification. One of the key gaming mechanics in education is this idea of progression. So even if you take, the academic side of things, you have a progression where you move from year to year to year. You're marked, out of 10 or whatever, or a percentage, and you're constantly ranked. In the world of online learning, we also use this idea of progression, but we can take it to a further extent when we look at, combining gamification with AI in order to really give that idea or a feeling of progression, which is a critical feeling if you are expected to engage on a daily basis, which is what we want people to do. We want them to open up those kind of neuro pathways to allow for new learning, but also to forge them so they are curious, naturally curious. But yeah, fascinating that generation. I mean, I think COVID was a bit of a tough time for them, but I do find that they know what they want much more, and they're very eager to tell, their employees or their parents, exactly what they want,
Exactly.
exactly what they don't want.
Exactly. And they don't want 30 years at a career, a
Yeah,
single job. They just
yeah.
don't. They want there's more out there. And I'm not poo-pooing anybody who does 30 years. That's awesome. Because the world is a balance, right? It's just that our language tends to be more oppressive when it comes to people who are in that constant evolution space. They'll
Mm,
do 18 months on this and then they move 18 months to that. I have a girlfriend who gets hired as a corporate, she gets hired in as a corporate trainer, leader, mentor for large corporations, a lot of direct selling corporations at the corporate level. And she has an 18-month, like after 18 months, I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah.
I need something new. I need something fresh. What are three things, if you were to give three pieces of advice to individuals who are struggling with the change within their industry and they're really struggling with that? And they know they need to adapt, but it's hard for them because we know that there's so many different psychological and emotional and uh, things that can block people from moving forward, right? Make them fear moving forward. What is a piece of advice or three pieces of advice or insight that you could give those people who are struggling right now because their career industry really has been kind of abolished by AI and they need to evolve? What are some of the things that you advise?
I mean, I think that, you kind of hit the nail on the head when you use the word blocked. If you are blocked, it's a really painful place to be because you're just stuck. You're just stuck in the darkness, and you just don't understand, and you can't feel your way out of it. So I think the first thing is you need to recognize that you're blocked, and you complain a lot, but you don't actually do anything. So that's a good summary of the situation that you're in. So the first thing is you've got to recognize I'm blocked. I'm not moving forward. There's no momentum in my life, and basically everything is it's like a magnet being attracted to this dark hole that I've got myself into. The first thing I was to do is, basically you've got to recognize the fact that, you're in the darkness and you are blocked. And that blockage is really, making you unhappy and unhealthy. And the next thing is obviously you need to be like, right, I want to move. I want to move. And moving is really, really difficult because moving doesn't mean to say you've got the solution. Moving just means that you're moving. And what that means to me might be different to other people, but what that means for me is gaining silence. Okay, so what I need to do when I'm in that scenario is go for many, many walks with my dog on my own without my mobile phone, because I need to find the inner me that can basically crush that darkness. So you need to find the inner you, and you can only do that in the small moments when you're alone without the fear. And I think things that allow us to see our true inner superhero, although they might be quite small at the time, is nature. Is nature, not being surrounded by other people. It's the quiet moments. And then if you can find your inner superhero in the quiet moments, you will have your answer. Then you go to step 3, which is she's told you. You've listened to your intention, which is essentially what your mini superhero is, and you will be able to find a way out. But I don't think any sort of technology or any external thing can stop your light shining. It can't. So the blockage is something that you think is going on, but it's not really. And what you need to do is just reconnect with yourself, reconnect with that, atom, essentially, that that spark, that big bang that happened when you arrived onto the planet. Insane. Here she is, here he is, right? Bang. All that beauty and awesomeness that you have inside you, you just need to reconnect with that, and then you'll find your way. But I don't think anything like AI doesn't crush. You have a hard time with it, you might be in a, but if you spend time with yourself will be the hero of your story. And I really do believe that. I do believe that.
I agree 110%. And I love how you put that. Would you share a time of resiliency that we would not be having this conversation if you hadn't have pushed really hard?
Yeah. So I think running your own business. I mean, I bootstrapped growth engineering, and we were it still is bootstrapped. I decided I want to have children at the same time as running a tech company. That was just not really the way to go. All of our competitors took external money. They all work with the big VTs, but I knew that I wouldn't be able to continue to run the company because I was getting pregnant, I was rearing children, I was doing all those wonderful things that is still the best adventure of my life. And so I chose to bootstrap. So I would say that that was an ongoing test of resilience, to compete in a market to get the biggest clients in the world with no external financing. So I think that's an example of what long-term resilience is. But then an example of painful, crushing would be during COVID, we took a government loan within growth engineering. We took a government loan to protect jobs. At that point, we had, I think about 100 people working for us. So there's a lot of people on the payroll. We took a government loan to basically see us through that period. Anyway, at the end of COVID came, that loan got sold to an international company in South Africa. So it ceased to be a UK government loan and was basically just owned by a private company in South Africa. And they foreclosed on the loan. They basically turned around 3 months after the repayment and said, we want the full loan in. And so what happened there is I couldn't believe that had actually happened, because obviously I owned the company and I was managing director, but apparently that was allowed. And so they put the company up for sale. And so basically what happened is everybody walked out. Every single person in the company walked out, because I walked out, and everyone was like, this is outrageous. You can't just steal a company. Now the loan, basically, if the company went into receivership or was sold, allowed them to take the money for the company being sold as well as the full loan. So it was this major feeling of injustice as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, to cut a very, very long story short, because everybody left, because everybody sort of followed me, there was only, even though all of our competitors were in the dark room looking around and saying, wow, look at all these lovely clients that you've got, we're just going to whip them up. Everyone refused to talk to them. And so there was really nothing to buy. So the only person that could buy the company back was me. So I had to then basically take all of my savings from, my working life and put in an offer to buy my own company back. And I think that, I don't think I will. I mean, obviously I got over it. I bought the company back. The company's doing really well. But the sense of injustice that you can have something like a government-backed scheme that was there to ensure that you as an employer did the right thing, and then for everything to go so crushingly wrong for no reason. Like, there was no reason why we couldn't have paid off that loan. There was no reason, but because there was an opportunity for the external company to make back their money straight away and have the profits from the company being sold. And it was just a massive feeling of injustice. And I think, there is a very, very good example of being tremendously resilient, because not only are you dealing with this crisis as it rolls on, at that time as well, I mean, there were a whole load of stuff going on in my private life, including, I wasn't able to, because of this, I wasn't able to make a final payment on my mortgage. So I lost my house. So within about a 6-week period, I lost my house, I lost all my savings, and I lost my company. But I had a great tribe around me, and they allowed me to keep moving forward. And I think what I did is I just put my head down and I just strode forward. And then it was only in hindsight, 5-6 months later, I took my boys to Thailand and we spent, 2 months that I was able to process.
That is, and there's a lot of people facing that right now. We're just really seeing the fallout from COVID through our businesses right now. We think we've been seeing it through, supply chain issues and increase in pricing for, everything from clothing to groceries, right? But I think that is the real, because I know in Canada, all of their loans are coming due right now, and a lot of entrepreneurs have not fully recovered from almost a 2-year shutdown in Canada, almost 2 full years. So and I really appreciate you sharing that, because not only did you go back and have enough faith in your company to rebuy that company, you also have pushed forward and launched another company that can actually help address some of the challenges you faced in getting an education, especially as somebody with dyslexia, because like I said, I've watched this firsthand, and I can see how hard it is when you're going, but I know the information. I'm super smart.
Yeah.
Why don't you see this? Right. So,
And I think one of the things that I learned going through that as well is that, you know, the team that you surround yourself with
mhm.
is vitally important. So when I bought back the company, I immediately gave 50% of the company to the management team. I literally gave it to them, because I wanted them to understand that the value that they had bought to basically saving the company. That company without the people is it's nothing, you know.
Absolutely.
So that was
Absolutely.
an important part as well, that you can own 100% of the company, but, you know, at the end of the day, the company and the management team are really, for me, were the people who saved it. And so, you know, there was no doubt in my mind that as soon as, you know, I had bought it back in full and the management team came back, they were going to be, you know, shareholders in running the business. And this is another reason why, when I moved on to Iridescent Technology, which I have now, it was a very easy choice. So, you know, a lot of people go, what? How can you work for 21 years building up your own company and basically, you know, working with some of the biggest companies in the world doing extraordinary things? How can you just walk out? And I'm like, well, it's very easy because I've got a management team who are a billion times better than me. You know, they are so good at what they do, and that company is in great hands. But I want to go off and I want to explore something else, which very well may fail. And I don't want to have growth engineering or the management team be in a situation where they're, I don't know, having that option when they've got a very, very, you know,
Well, and
successful.
they have ownership. They have ownership,
And they
and
have ownership, yeah.
that's a big one. People want to feel like they have ownership and stuff, and by giving them that opportunity is huge.
Mm.
So we have iridescent dot technology. So it's not a .com, folks. It's iridescent dot technology. Um, check it out. Where can people, if you can just give us a rundown of where people can find you, follow you,
Yeah, so
engage with
LinkedIn
you?
is the obvious one. So I'm all over LinkedIn. You know, I try to do personal stuff as well as kind of insight stuff, as well as, you know, product. And this is what's kind of happening on the product update. At the moment, my entire kind of focus is this idea of how far can we push AI to be really relevant in our lives, not as a glorified search engine, or, you know, can we basically make this image to look fake? Those types of AIs I'm not really interested in, but I am interested in, you know, the large language models and how we can use them to change learning pedagogy. So my thing is learning pedagogy. It's understanding how the brain works and basically using AI to promote curiousness so we can make humans better. You know, I mean, I'm not interested in letting the AI do whatever the AI wants. I want the AI to basically serve us in becoming the best version of ourselves. So, you know, not that I'm trying to tame AI, but I'm certainly trying to get AI to service learning and, you know, education in a way that is uniquely brings out the best in human beings. And so, yeah, my streams and, you know, socials are kind of filled with that. The website has also got lots of downloadable information. It's got lots of sort of free resources on learning pedagogy, AI, and what we're trying to build. So, yeah, and also I just love connecting with people. So if anyone has seen this and wants to just reach out and say hello, I would be very, very delighted to meet them for a virtual coffee. So yeah, very happy to say hello. Love meeting people.
And I can't wait to see all the adaptive uses for what you're building, because as a mother that dealt with uh, you can say learning challenges. I just think that they just learn differently. If we can normalize the learn differently and diversify the way we teach,
Yeah,
right, then we can actually uh, overcome all the self-deprecating language that goes on in the back of our head that we adopted from people telling us that we weren't smart enough or good enough or focused enough. This is my favorite. This was every year for 8 years at a private Catholic school in Wichita, Kansas. I would get my report card handed to me by the priest there that ran the school. And Kimberly Joe, if you only applied yourself.
yeah, absolutely.
I'm
Try harder. Yeah,
okay.
that
Just a
Okay.
little ADHD here, folks. I'm
Yeah.
a bit of a hot mess over here, and if you guys were interested at all,
Yeah.
right? And I didn't realize how good I was at math until I got into real estate and did real estate for 22 years, and realized, oh, there's a thing called applied mathematics. Had they just put it in a relevant situation,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
have figured out what a compounded 5% return would be,
Yeah.
right?
And I think what's so interesting is people understand what bad learning pedagogy looks like, because 90% of us have been through it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a smart person. Maths, physics, chemistry, it needs to be taught in a way that resonates with me. And so it's not the fact that, you can't learn. It's the fact that the pedagogy needs to change to make that learning going into my brain. And that is not my job. It's not my job to learn like somebody else. It's your job to get the learning pedagogy right so I can learn anything. Okay, so I can be the superhero, because I am a superhero and I want my talents unleashed on the world. So what I want better learning pedagogy, and I believe that AI will allow us to deliver that, so that the AI is delivering a service to make humans even more brilliant, fantastic, curious, energetic, exciting than we already are. And that is the key, as you say. It's like anyone can learn anything. We just need to curate that conversation, curate that learning experience to such a way that they are mad curious, that they wake up thinking, when am I going to get my next learning nugget? How am I going to show what I've done? Let me think about that. Let me prove what I've done. Let me apply that thinking, as you so rightly said. So that's the challenge. And the thing is, if you know the problem, you can create a solution, but you've got to label the problem. You've got to be clear on the problem. And I think we all know what the problem is because we've all experienced it. So
Yeah,
now
we're
it's
not, it's not the 1950s, and we shouldn't continue teaching like the 1950s. We shouldn't continue building roads like the 1950s. There's so many things. I'm not poo-pooing the 1950s either, folks. So no hate mail, please. I'm just saying we've all evolved, and you know, I we need to change the way we think around education, and even 4-year degrees in marketing. Quite frankly, can you get that same education by practical application and working in the field?
yeah.
Do you need to incur that cost? Now, if you want to be a brain surgeon, please still go to school. There are some areas that we cannot, I don't want on the job training. I do not want to be in on the job training for a brain surgeon. I always like to close the show with a positive statement, a quote, and you had shared one on your when you applied for the show. And tell me what the quote is, and then also why this is important.
So this one's from Dale Carnegie, who's just a legend, right, in terms of how he got us to think about how humans interact. But for me, the key word here is fun. So, your career should be fun. You should enjoy what you're doing. And if you're not, you need to question your career choices, in my view. And I think this quote just literally brings that alive, which is, you're not going to be the best version of yourself. You're not going to be the most successful you are unless you enjoy what you're doing. So prioritize the enjoyment, because if you prioritize the enjoyment, it's
Yep.
a crumb to basically you
You want to
designing your
show up.
life.
You
Exactly.
want to show up.
And it's
You're
really that
excited.
easy, folks. I mean, it's really that easy in my view. It's like, if you don't enjoy it, pivot.
And if you're in a position right now where God love all the single moms, I have done it, and I understand how you have to prioritize. And if you're having to do what you love as a side hustle while you do what you need in order to love the kids in your home, we're not saying that you're not authentic to who you are. We're just
Yeah.
saying continue to invest into what you love, right?
Mm.
It's an interesting world, interesting times, but I think we're moving into the coolest time ever.
I think so.
I
I
think
think
we're
so.
moving into an individualized time. It's just up to each individual to take action. That's the important thing. It's like being thrown into a big ocean and you got a couple choices. You can not move and you can sink. You can tread and stay afloat until you come up with a plan of action, or you can start swimming. But whatever your phase you're at, you need to recognize and identify that. But I believe you got it in you. Juliette, thank you so much. I love what you're doing. I can really, really, it truly resonates. I got kicked out of a few schools myself, just so you know. I was always that, student and high energy. Oh, Kim, you have such high energy. It's like, yeah, I know. I know. Um, Anything else you'd like to share with us?
No,
Anything
not
that
at
we
all.
did
Just
not cover? Because I just
no, I
love
don't
this.
think so. I think it's been a great, it's been a great opportunity to chat. Thank you so much for your, interest in what we're trying to do in Iridescent Technologies. Again, it is one of those things. It's a journey. But hopefully we can get out the other side, and hopefully, we can create something that, is going to have a real impact. We want a learning revolution, and we want to be at the forefront of that learning revolution. So, go team Iridescent is what I say. Go dream team. Let's go.
Go dream team.
Go
Okay.
dream team. Let's go.
All righty. And you know what? You guys, everybody listening, you are my dream team. You have given me the opportunity to do what I truly love because, like Juliette said, I believe our best learning is through conversation. And I get the opportunity to have these amazing conversations all the time. You know what? Until we meet again, until next time, give yourself grace, give yourself space. I believe in you. You need to
Thank
believe in
you.
you. We're all good.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you very, very much.
Absolutely. And stick around for my super duper outro. Thank you for joining us here today at Kim Talks Resilience. I'm your host, Kim Hayden, and I'd love to invite you to our resilient community at resilientgift.com. That's resilientgift.com, and we'll send you our magazine and tickets for upcoming events and all sorts of cool things we do here. So be sure to keep watching. And you know what? Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share, because we all know that sharing is caring.